Your Excellency, as you'll read from here, our reports, the Supreme Court was doing very badly. It has the worst performance. A court which is headed by the Chief Justice, it is scandalous, Your Excellency. That of all the courts in the hierarchy, the Supreme Court was performing worst, simply because we did not have sufficient personnel to enable us perform. So that's why I am today very happy. I commend you and thank you very much for intervening and making sure that the Supreme Court can now perform in accordance with. Your Excellency, I addressed you in 2021 in the new law year, sitting at the High Court premises, and then followed it up on the issue of the need to transform the judiciary of Uganda. And I put the case that this is possible and doesn't really require anything extraordinary. If we arrange ourselves, and indeed you said, if we get our priorities right, we can do these things. You virtually doubled the judiciary budget for the financial year 2021-2022. And this had tremendous effect on the performance of the judiciary. You'll find it distabulated here. I'll speak a lot more during the annual Judges Conference and the new law year, which, Your Excellency, you know you've been invited, and we believe you will not break with tradition, but you will keep the tradition you've kept over the years to officiate at these two functions. Your Excellency, before the judiciary budget was enhanced, we had situations where a chief magistrate would take care of 4 to 5 magisterial areas. If I use a constituency which you are more familiar with than the judiciary, it means you have a brigade commander based in Gulu, but he's also in charge of the brigade in Arua, the brigade in Moroto, and the brigade in Masindi. That's really what was happening. You can appreciate whether that brigade commander can be effective. He would probably spend more time on the road to be seen in all these places than planning in a localized place. The increment in our budget, we massively recruited and doubled the number of chief magistrates. And this is evident, it is quite manifest from the performance at the magisterial area. The best performance in terms of case disposal is at the magisterial area, where because of the enhanced budget, we were able to recruit chief magistrates, we were able to recruit magistrates grade 1 at a much greater number than either 2, and the result in 1 calendar year alone speaks for itself. Your Excellency, unfortunately, I cannot say this about the High Court of Uganda. The High Court of Uganda has got the largest number of cases that have not been disposed of, and this is because we are not yet getting it right with regard to recruitment of High Court judges. Your Excellency, I was alarmed when the PS of the judiciary reported to me that the amount of money locked up in the commercial court division, which we used to speak of 4 trillion, now is in the region of 10 to 11 trillion. This means whatever interventions we've made is not sufficient. And the intervention begins with numbers. and then other support or other innovations. Your Excellency, it is our plea, and hopefully, Your Excellency, you'll give the judiciary time as soon as possible, but preferably, and it is our plea, preferably before the budget framework paper is presented to you, if you could very kindly find time to see the judiciary so that we can present our budget proposals for the financial year 2023-2024. Because then, unlike last year, then whatever decision is made, we'll put into consideration. Why do I say we need an intervention in the High Court? I've just mentioned the commercial division of the High Court alone. I'm not touching the land division. I'm not touching the circuits, including the ones we've expanded to. Your Excellency, if we could make a bold decision that each financial year we recruit not less than 20 High Court judges. Your Excellency, I want you to believe me that we can make a difference. It is possible to release these 11 trillion shillings into our economy. And if that money is released into the economy, the dependence we have to donor partners, which the Honorable Minister spoke about, there would be no reason, or the reason would be lessened, so that we can stand on our feet and do what we now run to foreigners to do for us. So our plea, Your Excellency, is that we need to focus. The example is in the magisterial area. We should not focus in the High Court. We should focus on the Court of Appeal, where we, as you remember, we talked, we need to set up circuits, and we had made a decision that the budget permitting, and we hope it does, we start with Gulu and Barara for the regional courts of appeal. I need to report to you that with the same budget which was enhanced, we have meaningfully expanded the High Court base. This last financial year, we were able to operationalize new High Court circuits. Moroto, now there is a High Court in Moroto, Your Excellency. The Karmojong had never seen a High Court in their life. Thanks to your enhancement of the budgets. The people of the former Bukedi, I speak more comfortable about the old districts as I knew them. You know, in my planning, actually, I look at the people of Bukedi now have a High Court in Tororo, operational. Busoga is very big. Now they have a second High Court in Iganga. The northern part of Buganda, Bulemezi, never used to have a High Court. Now we've started one in Luero. We opened another one in Rukungiri and Hoima. Your Excellency, our intention in the next financial year is to continue expanding, opening up new High Court circuits. We are targeting Nebi in West Nile. We are targeting Kitgum in the Acholi sub-region, Apache, Kumi, Kamuli, Liantonde, Bushenyi. These are the ones I hope I've not forgotten any. We intend, but this means we must recruit the judicial office. This is an area where we are failing the people of Uganda. I gave you the example of a place you know, Patongo, where I come from. If I have a land dispute with anybody, any of my neighbors, and they're all less than 60 kilometers from Patongo. And because I do not have sufficient judges, For a long time, I had to make with one judge in Gulu. I've only sent a second one this financial year. A case, a land dispute takes 7 years, 5 years. In worst case scenarios, it can take a decade. It is because we in management were not looking at this. We're not helping how people access that. In our budgetary decision, we look at the judiciary of Uganda as an institution whose function is to render justice to the people of Uganda, not to the rich. It should be possible to everybody to access court, and it should be possible for everybody to get justice, not on technicalities, not by default. So the core of the budgetary proposal we'll be presenting to you in accordance with the Constitution is really to fight for this case, and we pray that Your Excellency will give us time within which to do this before the final decision is made. About our new judicial officers, I am privileged to have worked with the 3 justices who are now being elevated to the Supreme Court. Lady Justice Elizabeth Musoke, we were appointed High Court judges together in 2008, and we served in the Court of Appeal again together. And Honorable Justice Izama Madrama, we worked together in the Court of Appeal before I was elevated to Chief Justice. Similarly, Honorable Justice Stephen Musota, we worked together at the Court of Appeal before I became Chief Justice. Let me also say this, Your Excellency. Following the demise of Honorable Justice Awere Opio, who was the Chief Inspector of Courts, I made the decision, the moment you appointed Honorable Justice Stephen Musota, a Supreme Court judge, I made the decision to appoint him the new Inspector of Courts with a robust responsibility to ensure that there is discipline. And the reason I appointed him, it belongs to a very rare breed of judicial officers who began from the trenches. Began as a magistrate grade 1 and rose through the ranks to the Supreme Court of Uganda. They are, to my knowledge, only a handful. I remember the late Karokora, the late Kato Kosma, retired Justice Galdino, the late Lady Justice Kikonyogo, the Deputy Chief Justice, thank you, Lady Justice Faith Mwanda. These are the handful. The rest is we were grafted onto the judiciary along the way. But these are people who started. And the reason I appointed him, he understands the problem of being a grade 1 magistrate, which I may be ill-equipped to do. He understands the problems of what the chief magistrate needs to do. He was chief registrar, so he understands the administration of the judiciary. And I do believe he will bring to the administration of Inspectorate of Courts all this wealth of experience. My Lord, I congratulate you for this appointment. We look forward to the new team, which we're advertised for, so that we can continue to bolster the performance of the judiciary of Uganda. Your Excellency, the other thing I'd forgotten, but this is because I'm not reading, I'm summing up. Again, let me go to your constituency, the one you're more familiar with than with the judiciary. Without training in the military, at times you even carry out war games. Without that, you can have a military which is big, but when it comes to real action, cannot prove its worth. we are expanding the courts to the countryside. I've used the word countryside. The High Court, the Magistrates' Courts, constituencies, districts, and then the High Court for a cluster of districts. I call this hardware, Your Excellency. I'm not in the sense of competence, I'm not computer literate, but I can use some of those terms. Yes. If I had a magistrate grade 1 court within 15 kilometers of everybody, and indeed, you say it with time, we could go up to the sub-counties, and this would achieve what I'm just saying. This thing called backlog, which we say if a case has taken 2 years in court, then it is backlog. For me, I would say 6 months. You can't be a grade 1 in the sub-county. A matter is filed before you. You have 10 files, and you take 1 day more than 6 months. You would have to explain to the Chief Justice of Uganda in writing why you spent 1 day more than 6 months. But as it is, if I can have magistrates in every county constituency, chief magistrates in every district, I will lower from 24 months to 12 months. If a case has taken before you 12 months and 1 day, just 1 day more, you have to explain why that is so. It can be done. We've seen that, we've tested with the recent enhancement of judicial officers. The output was so gratifying, the output, we were really happy with it. But that is the hardware. The software is in recruiting and sufficiently equipping judicial officers with the capacity to render justice. You can recruit somebody who has got a first class from the university, won a prize at the Law Development Center, and the fellow who got a past degree would perform as a judicial officer better than the first class person, because it's a different dispensation. So how do we help these fellows who can understand the law well to perform? There must be a robust training regime in the judiciary of Uganda. That's the way to go. That's the software. So that we have judicial officers who are committed, who are conscientious, who know the law and know the procedure, who know that there is a dispute about this land, I must go and visit the land and speak to the local people, who know that court must start at 9. It's not that the judicial officer must arrive at 9. The judicial officer should be there at 8 o'clock and acquaint himself with the file and whatever else has come up. So that our people, when they go to court, they know that on your day of reckoning, there is really a reckoning, because you'll be attended to. So if we do this and have a strong training regime, we will do a lot more in enabling the judicial officers to serve the people of Uganda. The immediate former president of Kenya gave the judiciary of Kenya 50 acres of land on which to build a judiciary academy. 50 acres. When we went to Tanzania, we were taken northeast to a place which used to be a training wing for during Ujamaa and these things. It is an infrastructure that sits on 70 acres of land. Here, we do induction of judicial officers, magistrates, for 5 days. The first day, they use for knowing one another. The second day, they're beginning to warm up on the training. The third day, they really enter into serious training. The fourth day, they're really thinking of how to go back home. The fifth day, they're traveling to go back home. So in reality, in Uganda, we do not induct our judicial officers. It's only now that we've tried for 2 weeks, but our capacity is wanting. But if our judiciary budget were enhanced again from where we stand, we intend that induction should take a minimum of 1 month. And it should not only be about understanding the law. It should be where we can call you, Your Excellency, to share one evening with judicial officers. What do you understand by power belongs to the people? What do you understand by the judiciary? If we are favored to do this, I believe by the end of 2 financial years from now, the judiciary of Uganda will be recording a high record of performance, and not just performance, quality performance. I'm one person who believes that in rendering justice, it is not about statistics. It is about the quality of the judgments we deliver. This one of saying I did 70 cases, I finished 70 files, fine, that is good. But if out of those 70 files you've just dismissed cases, or instead of putting your heart into it, you're looking at a heap of files, and as you write judgment in this, your eyes are focused on this heap, then every case from a magistrate grade 1 or chief magistrate is appealed to the High Court. Every decision of the High Court is appealed to the Court of Appeal. Every decision of the Court of Appeal is appealed to the Supreme Court. I mean, this is like a merry-go-round. There's no end to it. Judicial officers should be able to sit, ponder over a case, and when they pronounce themselves, especially the courts of record, the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court, when we pronounce ourselves, it should be very clear to everybody, so that when your client comes to you, you say, you know what? The court has compellingly and authoritatively pronounced itself. Let us not bother. But when decisions are made in a rush, with an eye on, I want to clear the files, we're under the type of problems I've just spoken about. To thank you for affording us this opportunity and hosting us on this very important function for the judiciary and for the people of Uganda.